Are you ready? It's time, the inaugural.
This is the BCSN Pod Zone, your place for the news, views, and conversations about all things related to HBCU athletics. Here are the BCSN SportsWrap, Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, Knights of the Round Table, the pregame show, the Carlos Brown Show, the ONG Strike Zone, and more in one place. We are changing the way you consume HBCU sports, one broadcast at a time.
Maureen is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon, so now she's free to become Maureen the Merrier. Food is her love language, and she really loves her grandson. Like, really loves.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
That spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat. Ooh, yeah, that's nice.
Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on?
Sure, it's wireless.
Pick something we all like. Okay, hold on.
What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password? Buick Envision 2021.
Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable.
That's a really tight spot. Don't worry, I used to hate parallel parking.
Me too.
Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you, all of you.
You see, Head & Shoulders has scalp shield technology, protects against flakes, even between washes. It's never not working.
Kind of like us. Number 15?
Never not working!
I don't like this one.
Me neither.
Let's get out of here.
Head & Shoulders scalp shield, never not working.
Are you ready? It's time. The inaugural Urban NerdCon is coming to Montgomery, Alabama, July 29th through the 31st. Blurs, nerds, and geeks from across the universe will converge on the capital city to see celebrity guests such as The Last Dragon, Tybok, Megan Tandy, and voice actor Dave Fennoy.
Hey, how you doing? I'm voice actor Dave Fennoy with a shout out to all my geeks, freaks, and urban nerds. Just want to let you know I'm going to be there and I want to meet you at the Urban NerdCon Gaming and Cosplay event. It's happening July 29th through the 31st in Montgomery, Alabama. Hope you want to meet me as much as I want to meet you.
So join us by visiting theurbannerdcon.net for ticket and vendor information. This will be the premier blurred event in the universe. Theurbannerdcon.net. Our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone's con. See you there.
So how's it going, man?
Free baseball.
Yeah, we got some free baseball.
Free baseball, Dr. Cavil.
We had free baseball early in terms of extra innings, and now we get free baseball in terms of this true championship bracket play. This is Game Time production of Black College Sports Network, collaboration between myself of Dr. Ville's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop, along with Drew of SportsWrap, Ryan and AD, courtesy again of BCSN. We're in, and we know at least one bracket has decided a champion, and that will play on Sunday, and that is Alabama State of the Horns. They defeated Bethune-Cookman to punch their ticket. They have not lost in this tournament, so they've been very strong. They're set up. They went through their normal rotation, you would think.
Yes.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday pitches, so now they can start with their Wednesday, middle of the week
or they
starter,
go back with their Friday pitch.
or maybe bring a starter back from Friday.
Yes.
Putting in the arm split. They have a lot of options.
Yes.
They really got a tremendous pitching display in terms of the fact that the pitcher went all 9 innings. So they didn't have to go to the bullpen, and they held down a Bethune-Cookman team that tends to be able to hit the ball, and they only allow 1 run in that contest. So it was masterful in terms of what you've seen there in a lot of ways. Tremendous play between Alabama State and Bethune-Cookman, with the Alabama State Hornets really looking solid. What are your thoughts on that last matchup before we go to what will be really intrigue for a lot of folks because of what has now become a rivalry of all sports? We've known it in terms of football between FAMU and Bethune Southern, but now it's crossing over to basketball, softball, volleyball, and different things. And Tiddlywinks, yeah, everything. That's right. So before we get into this masterpiece, what did you think of that display that you just saw by Alabama State defeating Bethune-Cookman 4-1?
Look, I saw a time saver. That's what I saw. That game was over with. If you blink 3 times, you missed that ball game.
Yeah,
a lot of action in the ball game, but it was short, sweet, and to the point.
Yeah.
Alabama State jumped out early. Bethune tried to make a run. Bethune made plays. But Alabama State made some great defensive plays. The left field,
tracking went all the way to the wall, as you talking about. Laid out for it.
Almost went
fully extension.
I mean, he was at about a 70-degree angle to reach out and grab the ball. You know, we saw a couple of great plays on the infield, but that's what you want to see in this. Be honest with you, Dr. Cavil, and we'll get into this matchup in a moment. I don't think we're going to see a pitcher duel in this game right here that's upcoming. But you do realize that, for me personally, that game had a lot of mixed emotions. The first school that I graduated from, Florida A&M.
Yes.
Their rival, the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats.
Right.
Was in that game.
Right.
The school where I got my second degree from, Tuskegee University.
Their biggest
rival was in that game. So my heart was torn, but my emotions were torn, and then I was like, who do I root for in this game? Obviously, our media, technically, I'm not supposed to be rooting for anybody, but let's be real. There are emotions when it comes to this. And yes, I know you, Travis Jerome, I know you watching. I got it wrong. You are 100% right, Travis Jerome. That is the outgoing sports information director at Alabama State University. We want to wish him good luck.
Yeah, because he'll be missed because he's solid.
Alabama.
He's solid in terms of what he does.
He's great.
Really good in terms of extending sports information.
Worked with him when
providing
he was at
access to his coaches.
Yes.
For legitimate news sources. And just a good-natured guy.
Yeah.
In terms of understanding when to take his business serious, when not to. So, yeah, he'll be missed in terms of what he brings to the table.
HBCU sports.
But anytime you see somebody that does it right and gets an opportunity in terms of move up, in terms of financial pay is how I'm saying moving up, then all you can do is wish him Godspeed and tremendous. But, yeah, it was funny. As he knows how to rib you in that. As we were getting around and I was heading over yesterday because they played 2 games. Yes. Obviously, the Prairie View, Texas schools happen to play in those loser brackets. Prairie View against Jackson State for the first one, and Texas Southern against Grambling. I was leaving over there, and he said, hey, Alabama State's play, this is where it's at right here. I said, man, I got to get over there. I didn't want to tell him that I knew somebody was going home. I knew Alabama State at least had one more game. I was good. And I was thought the way they were playing it, they very well could have end up on Sunday. So before we cross over to this matchup and really get into it as we get things going, again, talk about how Alabama State is set up for the championship game.
Alabama State Coach Vasquez has used his pitching at a premium. He was able to have a player go 9 innings. Earlier during the tournament, he was able to pull starters with favorable pitch counts to allow them to come back. So he understands. He's shown that he understands pitching. He knows when to go ahead and burn a guy out. And when I say burn him out, not in a bad way,
Right.
but utilize his innings, knowing that he may not get an opportunity to pitch again in the tournament. So you might as well get everything you can out of him versus, okay, I need to save this guy and cut back 10, 15 pitches so that I could use him at a later point in time in the tournament. And also, let's be real, Bethune-Cookman, all the Alabama State's opponents have helped him out because you're seeing some 2-3 pitch at bats, which helps the pitcher out tremendously, Dr. Cavil.
Oh, yes.
Remember I said the key number is 15. If you get a pitcher in and out of an inning in 15 pitches or less, he's set up for success. Well, Alabama State has probably more than half the time got their pitcher out in 10 pitches or less,
right?
Which has really set them up. It's Alabama State's to lose. This tournament is Alabama State's to lose. Both these teams, FAMU, this will be their 5th game. This is Southern's 4th game. Southern will probably become a midweek starter. FAMU will probably have a bullpen session to get through this game. Win or lose, whichever one wins or lose, what will they have in the tank as far as arms come tomorrow?
Yeah, you talking about them. They defeated Texas Southern 4-3 in the first matchup to bring their record at that time to 31-23. Texas Southern dropped to 28-24 after their first matchup. They gave up 5 hits against Texas Southern, did not make an error and got 6 hits. That was Breon Pooler that goes on and wins that game to let you know. And they used 3 pitchers in that matchup, Osvaldo Mendez and Peyton Harris. So you talk about what they were able to do in that matchup. They give up a couple of more runs in their next matchup against Bethune-Cookman, but they hold on.
Was a slugfest. Not a slugfest. That was a true battle.
Yeah,
the first matchup against Bethune.
Yeah, and even against Texas Southern, though, that was, a couple of hits there. You had the big hit. Texas Southern got the home run, 3 RBI home run that put them back in the matchup. But you're right, in terms of matchup that kind of went back and forth and maybe gave you some consternation is between Bethune-Cookman in their division, a big rival that had their number during the regular season in terms of getting a couple of key victories. But they were able to get the overall talent there. Alabama jumps out 2-1. Top of the third, Bethune-Cookman gets right back in the ball game, scoring 2. But Alabama State, what I noticed, they always have an answer too in innings, even when they give up a run or 2. They fall back and get 1 in the bottom of the third, so they maintain the 3-2 lead, stretch it out in the fourth. They go up 5-2. They give up one of the biggest innings of the tournament thus far, where they give up 3. And we've seen some other folks give up bigger innings, even teams that were successful. And then they score 1 in the bottom of 6. They give up 2 in the 7th, and then they score 2 in the bottom of the 8th. So they win that one. A close game where they come from behind and get it done, winning 8-7. Luis Rodriguez comes in and gets the win in that matchup. Very solid in terms of that. They did have to use a couple of pitchers in that game. Kyler McIntosh, Sebastian Colin, Osvaldo Mendez came back in again. Peyton Harris also got a couple of more tosses. Luis Rodriguez and Sade Colin gets in there. But give you an indication, that's where they probably spent most of their arms. But we just talk about this recent matchup where you get all 9 innings.
Yeah, but even with that, even using 4 pitches, or was it 5? 4 or 5 pitches in that particular game, these pitchers were not going. They were not out there laboring.
Yeah, they were not extending innings. Yeah, they were 3, 4, a batter here and there. Yeah. It was particular moves to set up for Nethel. Yeah. Lefty-righty type matchup.
Exactly.
Give me an inning here, maybe an inning and a half.
15, 20 pitches back. So
that's
absolutely, that's not even a normal bullpen session,
That's right.
Dr. Cavil.
Right. That's right. And then you look at the opposite side when you start looking at Southern. Let's look a little bit about Southern and FAMU as we transition and get into that matchup. The first one was a classic game. FAMU jumps out. You've heard this in terms of the 7 runs, but let's walk this down since we got a little time to get and set up for this matchup. FAMU jumps out ahead early, 1-0. They follow up in the third and score 1, so they go up 2-0. Then they score another single run in the fourth. So they nicking, but don't cut them, as we say in dominoes, right? So they're up 3-0. They get the tremendous inning for 4 runs. Put up that cricket letter. Folks love to talk about that in college baseball. In the top of the 5th with a grand slam of all things. So it was very tremendous. It was 7-0, and you're like, oh, it's over. Not Southern. They come back in the bottom of that 5th, and they put up 5 runs themselves. You talk about the crucial play for a lot of folks, especially Rattler fans, is the catchers on first. They're kind of going toe-to-toe tap dancing, wild pitch, and it just seems that things get out of the way, and they ultimately score 5 runs. Then Southern adds 3 in the bottom of the 7th, and they're able to hold on and win that game 8-7 as they basically shut down FAMU the rest of the way. So Jeremy Burkett gets the win coming in late in that matchup, and Zach Marrera gets up. But I want to give you the picture so you can really talk about all this in terms of what happens. With Southern, they pitched 3 in that. Anthony Fernandez, Jerry Burkett the second, Enrique Ozeo. And then you have, in terms of FAMU, you had pitcher DJ Wilkinson, Zach Marrera, and Jeremiah McCullum, as well as you had the pinch hitter for the catcher. So just 3 pitchers. So they didn't go a lot of deeper work in terms of the number of pitches, but you see, as you talked about, because of the runs that were set up in the game, the number of pitches that were thrown to get that victory. Because Southern ultimately got 8 hits, but had 2 errors, which we're seeing a little bit, which we just talked about how clean Alabama State has been in terms of the errors, right?
Neither one of these two teams have been clean.
Had 9 hits, but 2 errors. So let's talk about getting into a couple of those other matchups, and we'll walk this down a bit about these 2 teams. What are you seeing after that first matchup that stood out to you in terms of them now having to play 3? It's almost like you play your weekend. Best 2 out of 3 comes out of here, and somebody's going to go to the championship game being able to check that box.
Let's see. If I remember correctly, there was a failed squeeze in the 8th inning of the FAMU Southern game.
That is correct.
Right. FAMU probably has had more missed opportunities, and Southern has capitalized on those missed opportunities by FAMU, be it offensive mistakes or defensive mistakes. The Southern mentality, the way they're bred down there, I don't know, it's something. It's the roux they put in that gumbo down there in Louisiana or something. Better than the crawfish and the shrimp that you get in Tallahassee. So it's something that's different about how these Southern Jaguars are bred. Even in this last game, FAMU went up 11-7 in the, what was it, 11th inning? It was 10th inning. Okay, in extras. Yep. I'm Dr. Cavil. Until that last out was squeezed, I was not comfortable.
I understand.
Because this team is, if they have life, you need.
They're gonna breathe.
Yes,
they're gonna breathe.
To be fearful.
And you talk about the fact, though, I do like the Coach Troop is coming in very aggressive because he did a squeeze against Prairie View in their second matchup that really worked.
Yes.
In terms of that, that really put on a lot of momentum. They end up crushing them and getting a big inning where they scored literally 9 runs. So Prairie View FAMU closed at 17-1. They had a pitcher that went the entire game because they were able to blast him in so many ways, which Keelan Fox, which is big in terms of those arms that we talk about. Ultimately, they were able to display this morning, but they jumped out on Prairie View 3-0, put up a single run in the second. Then they come up and put 3 runs in the third. By then, essentially, the game was over 7-0. But, you know, you had the question, could Prairie View get hot? Because we seen them give up some runs, but it was done. And then you put up a single run in the 5th. Prairie View still hasn't scored. They get up in the 6th, get a run, look like it's some life, but they held them just to the 1 run. And then the bottom fell out in the 6th, where FAMU puts up 9 runs and they win 17-1 in a 10-inning rule that just goes 7, which also helps you in terms of the pitching, in terms of that. And then we get back. We don't have to talk much about that, especially me being a Prairie View folks. I've left that out of my misery. The first game was the interesting one with Prairie View, where I thought Prairie View left a lot of runs on the table, and FAMU got it done, which gives you some indication of just how tough FAMU is when they win that opening round game before the rain comes in, and a lot of folks at 9 o'clock game, and maybe Prairie View wasn't up enough, or at least that's what I'm gonna blame it to, since they got defeated 4-3. And that's what you get in the tournaments about having to put yourself in there. Let me do that and see if I can get that game up here just to give folks some updates of where FAMU might be in terms of the pitching arms in terms of their first matchup in the tournament where they defeat Prairie View. As I'm looking that up.
While you do that, I want to shout out a couple of the normally we call them the lab listeners, but we go just call the people tuning in to the Game Time Show.
There you go.
I see David Garner, J.B. Walker, part of the BCSN family. Hey, I see you this week in Atlanta for the MVP All-Star game, Jamie. Berry 305 is joining us. Also, Ruben Perez is joining us. Whoever you are, wherever you listen to us, be it on Facebook, YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button. Let us know that you are actually out here switching from the SWAC network, coming over to BCSN, but don't stay over here too long. We want you to go back to the SWAC network and go ahead and make sure you catch the last semifinal game of the day. And then tomorrow, the championship game will be on ESPN3. Let's make sure that the SWAC gets their numbers in that particular game. So hopefully
I certainly hear about folks comparing these numbers when you're talking about Jackson State in the Orange Blossom Classic and FAMU skipping forward to football, flexing, asking ESPN to flex from ESPN2 to ESPN, even though the open is there. I think it's great in terms of dialogue, but we need to make sure we have all the information as we get in there. But back to this first one with Prairie View, which was a classic matchup to open things for the tournament, and should have tell us a lot about what was going to happen if we could kind of see. FAMU did use 3 pitchers in that matchup. They go with Hunter Veits, Zach Maria, and Ben Krazin gets it done, as they have to go in 10 innings in that game. As we've seen, our first extra inning games led things off. Prairie View had 15 hits. Now, they did give up 12. FAMU has shown that they can hit the ball all tournament long. So that's one thing that you need to think about the rally.
Bats are hot from Tallahassee.
They able to get out of that game 5-4 in terms of, even though Prairie View out hit them, one costly error Prairie View probably was the difference in that game in a lot of ways in terms of get it done. So we set things up in terms of what has been going on for here. We give you some updates and all those little things. Been fascinating in so many different ways for this Florida A&M Southern matchup to see who's going to win the bracket pool play with the number 1 seed Southern, and you have the number 2 seed FAMU in that matchup. So it is going to be interesting in terms of what's going on there. So I'm fascinating what we've seen.
And I'm trying to see if I could, if we talking about
while you pulling some things up, let me get into the matchup that happened this early so you can see, as we are probably going to be able to get the pitchers who's going to play in this game shortly before we go off air, just kind of set the stage for that. But in the second matchup between Southern and FAMU this morning, FAMU came in at 29-29, Southern at 26-30. Southern was scored 3 in the bottom of the first to kind of start things off. It settled down, no scores second and third inning, and then FAMU gets back in the game scoring 2 in the top of the fourth. They hold Southern to no runs in the bottom of the fourth. They come back, put the bats to work again. They score 2 in the top of the fifth, take their first lead of the game and go at 4-3. Sixth inning, Southern ties the game up, scoring a single run. It's 4-4. They come back in the bottom of the second. In that blast, that 2 RBI blast, they cleared what we now know is the batting cage in right field. Right field line is 325. We estimate it went 425 because it goes over and the backside.
Look at this man on Third Avenue.
Yes,
just tell
and
everybody.
with the advertisement, it says the Magic City is our home field there in terms of the batting cage, and hits that. So it's amazing in terms of what happens there. It goes in the top of the 9. You think it's over. FAMU puts up 3 runs, takes the lead, and you're like, oh, my goodness. FAMU's getting out of here with the win. Not to be outdone, Southern in the bottom of the 9th scores 1, and it goes in the 10th where FAMU scores 4, including a home run, again showing their power. The winner pitcher of that FAMU was Ben Creasine, and losing pitcher was Austin Hansen. Southern had to pitch quite a few. They put up 5 pitches in that game to try to get it done, while FAMU just has 3. So it's going to be interesting as if you listened to us earlier in terms of Carlos Brown, they had Coach Carlos James on there from UAPB that was talking about from his experience and sees that Southern has probably pitched a lot of their arms. They're not as deep in the arms as FAMU or Alabama State, which we talked about earlier, which sets it up so well for Alabama State. But the question now is, will you get the number one matchup, or would you get the number 1 and number 2 matchup from the East? Will it be an East final, or will you get the 2 top 10 seeds? What are you looking at as you kind of dig some numbers up that people may consider as they go into this final matchup?
Well, let's consider what these 2 teams are statistically over the season. Southern number 7 in batting average, FAMU number 8. Southern batting 279 on the season, FAMU batting 270 on the season. FAMU has been winning it here with the long ball and a lot of extra base hits. But truthfully speaking, Southern statistically speaking on the season, Southern has hit 47 home runs, FAMU 26. Southern has 15 triples, FAMU 10. Southern has 111 doubles, FAMU 92. Statistically speaking, Southern is the better hitting team, but FAMU in this tournament has showed that their bats are hotter. Now, is that due to their pitching in the East versus the bats in the West? Because the East is known for pitching, the bats is known for hitting. In this tournament, yes, it has been. That has probably been the factor when you take season averages versus tournament average. Let's take pitching, Dr. Cavil. FAMU number 3 in the league. Let's think about the teams that were in the semifinals. Bethune-Cookman was 1, Alabama State was 2, Florida A&M was 3, Southern all the way down at number 7. Well, the number 2 team is in the finals. The number 2 team in pitching just beat the number 1 team in pitching, and you got the number 3 team in pitching getting ready to get out here on the field. Definitely advantage FAMU right there.
Yeah, I agree.
Fielding percentages. These 2 teams, once again, are back-to-back. Florida A&M, number 5 in the league. Southern, number 6 in the league. But what's the fielding percentage? It's so close, it's not even really, it's a statistical tie. FAMU fielding percentage, 9.56. Southern fielding percentage, 9.54. That's what, like 1 error over the season. So statistically speaking, these 2 teams are even defensively, and we've seen these 2 teams make some mistakes. It's got the key thing for this game is going to be walks and errors. Who makes them and when they make them. If you get a walk or an error to the leadoff batter, it's going to open up the floodgates to a big inning. If it happens with 2 outs, you still have a chance to get out the inning without any damage.
Good call. Good information in terms of how to watch this last game of the pool play. It will determine the other half of the bracket of who will play in the championship game on Sunday. It's looking to be a good one either way, whether it's Alabama State and FAMU, number 1 and number 2 seeds out of the Eastern Division, or whether it's going to be the 2 number 1 seeds out of Alabama State, obviously out of the East, and number 1 seed Southern out of the West. So I think it's lining up to be a great matchup in terms of what we see tomorrow. That game will be broadcast on the ESPN network. But to finish it out, you have the SWAC Digital Network that has been keeping you updated throughout the tournament, providing some great camera angles, frankly, in terms of what it's in plays. Talk a little bit before we get in this is how well this game has been umpired. I mean, this tournament has been umpired. oftentimes we get concerns about calls, and you have folks that may think things are not going this way, but from more of a neutral spot, I think the umpires have done a tremendous job of taking advantage of replay and checking things twice to get it. But even when you see them going to replays, they have to be calling out about a 99, 98% correct status, because most of them, they come back and they don't overturn. And what you see on the screen, you be like, hey, man, they got that right.
Yeah. Well, for all y'all who love to talk trash about SWAC officials, you really need to be here, step behind the scenes, and see how hard these guys are working. I think you and I both had opportunities to talk to some of the officials, the supervisor of officials, while they're off the field. And these guys are working hard. They're doing it. And honestly, watching the game live, I haven't seen one that they got wrong, let alone when I watched it on the replay. So these guys are doing. These are the best of the best who are out here calling these games, determining our champion. Not only that, they've had good pace. We've only really seen one interaction that they've had to assert their authority, when we had the ejection earlier. And let's talk about that ejection.
Yeah, because it'll come into play.
It comes into play in this game. But was he really gonna pitch today anyway? That was number 30 for Southern. I can't remember his name right now. But when was he really gonna pitch today? Probably not. So he's probably I don't know if he's here in the ballpark or if they left him back at the hotel. Southern wins, he probably goes tomorrow. So
he's probably in his regular clothes, sitting in the stands. He's not going to not be in the ballpark. They probably thought about what they could do, and they just told him, hey, just dress out, chill out on the sidelines, and support your team.
He's probably sitting up in the Southern. If Southern has a suite here, he's probably up there with them so they can keep an eye on him.
Right. Because they're going to do it tomorrow. But where that came into play, is to your point, is that he could have played. He could have pitched today if they really needed him.
Yes.
And now he doesn't. Now the question is can Southern survive and get in the championship, and then allow him maybe to have one of those great stories where he comes back and saves the day tomorrow, or will his last memory of the tournament be the fact that he got thrown out and couldn't help them advance to a championship game in this final bracket pool game? So it's fascinating for young men. I personally thought it was a quick trigger, but you don't know what was said. And like I said, everything else about the tournament, they've been solid. So you got to give lean to umpires that they got it right in terms of that. And he was very definitive in terms of making a call. So he really probably crossed the edge. It's just unfortunate for a young man to have to learn a lesson like that in this setting. But if this is the worst thing that happens to him in life, as we've seen extremely detrimental things in terms of our country, which unfortunately is a whole nother story. But we want to let people know that our minds on that, Buff in Buffalo and now in Verde in Texas, in terms of understanding the seriousness of what's going on in our country. But with that being said, as they're watering the field, just to give you an update there, the teams have stretched out. They've thrown around the baseball, swung the bats a little bit to warm up. So now they're in the dugout, and you're getting ready for the action to start in so many different ways. What are some of your last thoughts before they start to call and get ready for this game?
Really don't have a whole lot. I just really want to sit back and enjoy this game.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone knows that I'm a FAMU grad, so we know you can't root in the press box, but we know who I'll be rooting for the moment I walk outside of that press box. I'll be rooting for the ONG, the orange and green, and hopefully I'll be doing some work for the ONG Strike Zone and be able to get a couple of interviews or two after the game that we'll be airing on the ONG Strike Zone later on this week.
And shout out to Carlos Brown for getting us on the show to talk about that. We know who we be rooting for.
We know who he rooting for. We gonna see who buying who dinner.
Yeah,
doing
I was going to bring that up to make
Day.
sure the SWAC Media Day.
Yeah,
somebody's going to get great dinner for that trip based on this matchup here.
Exactly.
Also want to shout out for the SWAC Alumni Association, Stephon Robinson that is involved in that. I'm a member of the organization, but they're having the Legends Awards and Roast tonight. That is obviously Saturday 28th. That is 7 p.m. It's at the Doubletree by Hilton Perimeter Park, Birmingham, Alabama. So that's interesting. In terms of the starting pitcher for FAMU, we have number 16 Tees is the starting pitcher as you get ready to give you some indication of what that looks like. We can go back and kind of get some stats and updates to let you know what he's done on the season. We're still waiting because this literally is on time. So this stuff is just getting to the press box. So as soon as they get it, we're getting it. So we'll keep you update in terms of what this is looking like, and we'll give you the starting lineup once we get some numbers on Teese to kind of give you an update of what Teese has done this year in terms of that matchup. I think that's just him. Dallas Teese. ERA is 9.47.
9.47. He's 0-4. This will be his fourth start on the season. He has appeared in 15 games. That's a typical midweek starter.
Yep, that's what that is.
9.74 ERA in 19 innings pitched. He's given up 24 hits, 20 earned runs, 20 runs, all of them earned. He's walked 15, struck out 13. So
young guy, pitcher hasn't really gotten to the place where he's used to be a starter. Well, who knows? He can rise to the occasion in terms of what that looks like. But before
also,
we go in turn, go ahead, and then I want to get the rest of the lineup.
About midweek starters. A lot of times they're playing tougher competition than you're going to get on the weekend. They're playing the University of Florida's. They're playing the South Carolinas and University of Central Florida's and teams like that. So those people tend to actually have
unless
higher
you like
ERAs.
Jackson State and Texas Southern. Prairie View does a little bit of two. That they play some of the NIA programs.
Yeah, but FAMU, Bethune have.
That's why I said those other ones. But yeah, Alabama State, FAMU, they tend, and they have a lot of. I mean, Texas does too, but they choose not to. But FAMU has a lot of Division I programs that make it easier for them to do that.
Right.
Alabama State just decides to challenge themselves,
Troy
and they've been able to get some of those wins over the years to give you that. Them and Bethune-Cookman, FAMU here and there, they've got a couple of them, but they play pretty competitive. So your point overall is right on the money. Is, you know, what does that mean? What is the balance in terms of who he sees? Because we also got to think about sometimes in those midweek games, even though you are playing a bigger brand Division I team, some of those weekend starters in the field also in terms of their batters, they also sit out in some of those games as well to give them a little rest depending on if they have a nick or bruise. So it goes a little bit of both ways, but the overall process is now you're getting deeper in terms of their rotation. So you got two things that may happen. You may see similar what you see in Alabama State, even though it was the third rotation, so you expect it. But I'm sure he hasn't gone 9 innings too many times during the season.
Right.
So you might get somebody that really surprises you and able to go deep into the game that really gives you an advantage, or you see the opposite where a pitcher kind of gets, taken out of his game really early. Because he gets a lot of hits in terms of giving up some runs that allows him to get taken out in the game matchup early. So those are some things that you want to kind of consider in terms of that matchup. Can you get the rest of the lineup in terms of what's going on? And
for FAMU, we're still waiting on the Southern lineup to come to us. Leading off will be number 20, Viebler, playing left field. Playing second base, number 1, Niles. First base, number 7, Roel. Your DH will be number 14, Hanley. Playing right field, number 27, Bryant. Playing first base, number 6, Robinson. No, check that. Number 3, Robinson is playing shortstop. Number 13, Hernada is your third baseman. Number 23, Badger is your catcher. And number 5, Brown is your center fielder. So that's your starting lineup for Florida A&M University. Shout out to Michael Coker, who's up in the press box trying to feed us information as soon as he gets it for these teams, and does not look like we're going to get the Southern line up because they are at the plate meeting. That means that the official score probably has it and is still utilizing it because the press can't get into after the official scorer gets it. One thing, Dr. Cavil,
Coach Crenshaw might be playing a little cat and mouse early in this game already.
There you go. What thing to keep in mind, Dr. Cavil, let's look at the approach by the hitters in here. Let's see if they try to work these pitchers and get some deep counts, take a lot of pitches early, and make these pitchers throw strikes. But you don't for a team that wants to get an advantage, you don't want to see 2-3 pitch at bats offensively. Now, defensively, you want those 2-3 pitch at bats. So let's see how that kind of plays out throughout the team. That's going to give you an early indication of how these teams are going to compete.
I'm so glad this game is streaming because I did promise Deuce that I would take him over. You got to sneak over there a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
I should have followed your lead of how you mix things in so smartly. Got you some socks and shirts as they have an HBCU spring coming, as they like to call it, playoff or homecoming.
Right.
In terms of they have a lot of HBCU fans out here celebrating with a lot of food and food trucks.
I saw a Fisk. I saw Lawson State. I saw Spelman over there. And these are, I'm not talking about the ones you expect from here in Alabama. Of course, you saw your Morehouses and.
So I can give you the number 12 of Southern is taking the mound.
See, I'll pull that up while you
get to the roster as they're warming up and we're about to sign off. But we want to at least be able to give you the pitcher for Southern as he is taking the mound, as he's taking his warm-up tosses, and we're about to get started. It looks like we'll have a 5:15 start off, so we're right up on it, feeling good about what's taking place here. It should be a good one as we see if we can get you who number 15 is when we talk about Southern baseball. We're going down the roster, so give us just a little time here, and we'll get you that update in terms of who is.
You said number 12 is out there. Davis, Christian Davis. On the season, Mr. Davis has a 6.75 ERA, a 1.92 WHIP. He is 2-4. He's appeared in 10 games, started 9 of those 10 games. In 30.2 innings of pitching, he has given up 38 hits, 30 runs, 23 of them earned, walked 21, struck out 20.
Yeah, so, that's one of your middle relievers.
Yes.
More than likely. May have had a start here and there.
Look like more of a midweek. He started 9.
So he had some midweek
guys.
Because, even in baseball now, you got some of these teams have been aggressive, and they starting to play 2 midweek games.
Yes.
In some cases, the Tuesday and Wednesday. So one way or the other, and you tend to mix it up based on who you are up against and what their style of hitting and what they is. So you might have a couple of different people that you get in the midweek games as you're playing with your roster. But that'll do it for us as we'll sign off as they are about to get this first pitch out in here. This is, again, Game Day production of Black College Sports Network, collaboration between myself, Dr. Ville's Inside HBCU Sports Lab, with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, along with Drew of SportsWrap, Brian and AD, as we can give you an update. That first pitch was starting, and it should be a classic matchup. With that, we'll sign off, telling you keep up with us as we will be here tomorrow to give you a pregame matchup. That game is at 12, so look for us to come on between 11 and 11:30 to take you right up into the start of the game to give you some updates of what that championship game will look like. We know now it will be Alabama State out of one bracket, and the winner of this game between Southern and FAMU will match up against Alabama State at 12 tomorrow on ESPN Networks. So look for us to give you, as part of Game Time, some updates of what that looks like as we have the SportsWrap duo and HBCU Sports Lab. That'll do us. It's always a pleasure giving all the listeners out there updates of the news there. Take care.
But my beats, they are hard.